Well, the next week will be quite hectic for me. Yesterday, if you missed it, we posted a very special video where we opened a special package from Senna. I am currently working on the lore of Akshan, and right after that we'll get into covering the lore of this event. Now, here's the thing. Originally I wasn't sure if I wanted to cover the cinematic of this event. I didn't think there was enough info for this video to be interesting. But after completing the first chapter with the Massia, I realized that this cinematic is not actually canon. So be ready, because in this video I'll be ranting about all the stuff that happened differently in the actual lore. Because once again, even though we as the rookie, which is the player character, do have some choices when it comes to the story, the overall story arc is canonically happening in the same way. We'll get to that when we cover the actual chapters in separate videos. But you'll see what I mean by this as we dive into the cinematic. So without further ado, let's have a look at the cinematic called Before Dawn. At the beginning we have the reveal of the Sentinel Hideout as well as their map. Here we can already mention some interesting things. Some people mention something peculiar when it comes to Piltover on this map, but we'll get to that thing at the end. Before that, more importantly, you can see that this map actually locates the Black Mist. You can see its current activity, which means that at the bottom right you can see that it is spreading from the Shadow Isles. And interestingly enough, the location of this very Sentinel Hideout was never revealed anywhere. It is speculated that it is on the opposite side of the Shadow Isles, on these tiny islands. Because if you have a look at the same map in the client, while there the location of the hideout is also not revealed, you can see that there these islands are actually circled, as if it is an important location, just like the Shadow Isles on the other side. Also, we know that Senna and Lucian got here by sailing quite far away, so that's why these islands fit the description. Then again, none of this is confirmed just yet. And then we get to the Massia. I'll skip over why the Black Mist is actually going for the Massia, because I would spoil the story of the first chapter. But just know that we know why Viego was going here. There we can see Vayne chasing the monsters who are chasing the Dauntless Vanguard. We know that these are the elite Dauntless Vanguard because of the style of their helmets as well as their armor. And here we get into the first reason why we know that this cinematic is not canon. Vayne's crossbow is not supposed to be able to kill these wraiths. In the story from the first chapter we learned that after she tries to kill one of these, they always come back up. And here you can see them disappearing into thin air without a trace of their soul going back to the Black Mist. But this is really just me nitpicking. There are other way more important reasons why this cinematic is not exactly canon. And that reason is right here. Minor spoiler, but if you put 2 and 2 together, it was obvious that this would happen in the first chapter. Because you are in the Massia and because you are teaming up with Vayne, of course during the first chapter you find Shyvana. But in the event story you find Shyvana in the Mage Seeker compound. She was being held there because she was magical. I won't go into too much detail, but basically now it kinda makes sense as to where Shyvana is the entire time. The Mage Seekers didn't like her. But more importantly, in that story you witness Shyvana's transformation. You witness the moment Viego takes over her body. You also fight her in the Mage Seeker compound. Unfortunately, because of the comic, we know what the Mage Seeker compound looks like, but even if this was happening outside that compound, it still doesn't exactly fit the story from the event. Because here they are fighting outside and Shyvana was already corrupted. The two then fight. It kinda makes sense why Vayne's bolts don't really do anything to Shyvana. As I mentioned, her primitive weapons are not really that good against the Black Mist. But more importantly, as the shot zooms out, this is how the cinematic is supposed to teach you how Viego works. The corrupted champions are not just corrupted by the Black Mist. Their body is actually taken over by Viego. And so that's why, as the shot zooms out, Shyvana's voice transitions into Viego's voice. So it seems like Viego can see what Shyvana sees.
Until our queen is returned, all will be brought to ruin.
What is this? What's happening?
Then Shyvana reveals her draconic form, our poor Demacian guard gets killed. That's really the only thing that really fits the story, Vayne did mention that as well. And of course Lucian and Senna come in to save the day. I know that this is just Lucian's fighting style, but it's cool how all of these moves reference how he was fighting the Wraiths in the Viego cinematic. He just spins around a lot and shoots in all directions. All of them then team up, they try to corner Shyvana. Vayne is the one who takes the charge because she hates monsters. Lucian joins in to help, and of course then there is an obvious reference to the Thresh cinematic. Either way, they actually defeat Shyvana, just like they did in the actual story. And Vayne wants to kill her, which he also did wanna do in the actual story, but I won't spoil anything else. But this is where the story really starts to diverge. You see, first of all, by the time they find Shyvana, before she was corrupted, Vayne was already helping Lucian and Senna. They then witness Shyvana's corruption, and they all fight her together. In this cinematic, Vayne was the one who found Shyvana first, Lucian and Senna then joined the battle, and then Lucian and Senna tried to recruit her. That entire introduction of all of the characters to each other in the actual story happened at the beginning. And although in this cinematic it seems like Vayne joined the Light Sentinels because she just doesn't like monsters, which is really true, but in the actual story she also did it because her silver bolts didn't actually do anything to the Wraiths. She needed a sentinel weapon. However, she only uses crossbows, and so she wasn't sure if she could find a weapon there. Lucian said that they would find something, and that's why Vayne joined them. The cinematic then shows us the scene where Vayne actually joins them, which I have to say this is pretty accurate to what we have seen. Even the discussion of Lucian and Senna afterwards fits. But here's the thing, there is no Gwen here. And Gwen is a crucial part of this storyline. In fact, and this is a very minor spoiler, when she then comes out dressed up, you can see one thing, and without context, this is actually hilarious. Look at Vayne before, look at her hair. Long black hair tied into a really long ponytail. Look at Vayne afterwards. Are you telling me in the, let's say, 30 minutes of her choosing a weapon, did she also cut her hair on her own? You see, in the actual story, it is hilariously explained. Gwen was the one who gave her the haircut. But here it kinda just happens because it is cool. However, as a counterpoint, the cinematic does something else that is really cool. You might have missed that when Shyvana tried to burn Vayne, as Vayne was thrown to the side, she actually lost her glasses. That's why here the glasses are different. I mean, let's pretend the Sentinel Hideout would actually have a pair of extra glasses. But still, that is a cool detail. I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't even notice that Vayne didn't have her glasses this entire time. Anyway, at the end we can see the entire map, and this is where we can mention some really interesting things. First of all, it is very interesting that even though the Sentinels know that Viego comes from Kamavor, their map does not show the Kamavorian continent, which sounds crazy to me. That place is Viego's home. Don't tell me Viego wouldn't have any connections to that place. Why are the Sentinels ignoring that? And in case you somehow don't know, Kamavor is supposed to be to the east from our map, so here it is obviously missing. Regardless, besides that, this map actually fits all the other details which we have on Universe really well. It even shows the deep north, which is really just a mystery to us. You can see it everywhere, but we don't know what's there. And lastly, right next to the Shuriman capital, I noticed that there is an extra detail. There is this giant crater. Now, this is too far away from the mountains for this to be Nerimazeth, which is the first Shuriman city that ever tried to build a sun disk, which also exploded. So this giant crater might be a tease for something happening in the future. If not, maybe it is just something that I have forgotten about, or maybe this is where something in this event will happen. Maybe it is a tease. Lastly, to close this video, some people wondered why is the Black Mist avoiding Piltover? To which I have to say, I hate to burst your bubble, but the Black Mist is at the very least consuming half of Piltover and Zone. You can see the actual location in the event. The part that it is avoiding is the neutral ground between Piltover and Noxus. Nothing important is there, and that's why the Black Mist is not there either. So I'm sorry to say, but the Black Mist is corrupting even the Piltovan machinery. I have no idea how this works, but it's actually really cool.